Hey YouTube fans, Eric Hayden here in the garden. Did a video earlier this morning. It was quite windy and foggy and misty. Now the sun has come out and it's turned out to be a real nice day. I mentioned that I took the morning off because I still had a little bit more weeding to get to. This video is going to cover why you would do a pre-emergent. We'll get to that in a second, but each bed, I've got the measuring tape out there. I think it's 12 by 20, but I'm going to do some measuring here pretty soon so I get my rate of application correct. But I'm very happy that the weeding is finally done. But I mentioned each bed is quite large, so it takes a long time to weed these. This bed right here took about an hour and a half. So you're talking 7 to 10 hours to get this whole garden weeded. Again, I do mostly hand weeding. I've done some spot treatment with Roundup now and then. I don't really like to use that because roses are very sensitive to Roundup. Obviously you don't want to get it on the bush at all, but if you get it anywhere close, it seems that you have issues. So the point of this video is, why should you do a pre-emergent? Well, number one, I don't want to go through 7 to 10 hours of weeding a couple times a year. And that's what I've done for the last couple years. I don't mind it too much, but these beds are so large, it's just a lot to maintain. In addition to the drip irrigation, my hope with the pre-emergent is if I take away the time that I weed and water, then I can focus on more things like deadheading, spraying, fertilizing, things of that nature. So why you do pre-emergent is to prevent weeds. A lot of people rely on mulch to prevent weeds. I'm not a huge mulch fan in terms of weed prevention. Mulch is great for soil temperature modification. It keeps the soil from getting overly hot or cold. Excellent for moisture retention. And I think one of the best things of mulch is to add organic matter to the soil as it breaks down. Why am I zooming in on this bed? Yeah, I've got a couple climbers, but this is mainly a woodpile and azalea bed. The reason why I'm zooming in, I haven't weeded this yet on purpose. Look at all these weeds that have popped up. And I had a very thick coat of pine straw down, which is a mulch we use here in the South. So I am not a fan of mulch as a weed preventer. I just don't think it works. A couple of reasons for that. If you happen to have a thinner spot, weeds are going to pop up. Where you have it really, really thick, it might help somewhat. But again, I think mulch is much better as something to add organic matter to your soil, moisture retention, things of that nature, aesthetics. So lots of reasons to put mulch down, but I don't think weeds are one of them. And again, in terms of weed prevention, look at these weeds in this garden that popped up over the winter with a thick coating or application of pine straw. So that's one reason to do pre-emergent. I don't think mulch works very well. I want to save time in the garden. I want to briefly end this video with when you should do it. As soon as you get your bed free of weeds, you should do it. And the reason for that, these weeds are quick to pop up. I started with these two beds probably about two and a half weeks ago. I work a full-time job, got 3 younger kids, so I get out here when I can. But by the time I got to that last bed, it may have been about a 3-week period. So meanwhile, one of the beds near the beginning that I had mulched already, or weeded, excuse me, already some weeds are popping up. So it's very important timing on that pre-emergent. You don't want to wait. Usually the late winter application is before you would do any spring pruning of your garden. Maybe when the forsythias are starting to think about blooming, you're starting to see some warmer soil temperatures, usually into the 50s. That's when you want to do it. You do not want to wait. If you have weeds present, you want to get rid of those first, because pre-emergent does not kill existing weeds. It only prevents future weeds from coming up. So as soon as you get that bed weeded, if it's going to be over the course of a couple weeks, maybe you do some pre-emergent on those first couple beds and then follow up with the later beds when they're done being weeded. So to wrap things up, I do a pre-emergent. Hopefully, this is the first time I've used it, to save time. 7 to 10 hours in this garden it took to get it into this shape. I do it to prevent weeds. I mentioned the saving time. I'm still going to do mulch in the spring, but that's more for moisture retention, organic matter to the soil. It's not so much for weed prevention. So that's part one of this video, why you do a pre-emergent, prevent weeds, save time in the garden. The next video, check us out, we're going to do how you actually do the pre-emergent, how you go about deciding how much you need in your beds. A lot of it is based on how large your bed is. Application rates, we're going to go over that. What tools or equipment you need to use to put down that pre-emergent. So as always, comment below. I would be curious for those that do a pre-emergent in the garden. This will be my first time doing it. What have your results been? Any tips? Be sure to share with us.